This is a criminal investigation being headed by the U.S. Attorney's Office and potentially has far steeper penalties. Prosecutors are investigating whether those were misleading statements, and in essence they were defrauding their customers by not being totally forthcoming about the safety of their cars.
It's likely you didn't hear this story recently. The number of people killed by the General Motors defective ignition switch has risen to 111, up 2 from just a week ago. And despite GM's attempts to be transparent and tell the truth, federal investigators aren't buying it. And there is now almost no doubt in their minds General Motors has been lying, and someone's got to pay. Only one person has the insight into how this machine ticks. She's the nationally syndicated expert on everything automotive and one of the few people who get it from boardroom to brake pads. The car coach, Lauren Fix, joins us. Lauren, always a pleasure to have you on the show, and I know that this is something that we have been following, we have been watching, and you only keep asking yourself, can it get any worse, or is this finally the end where they're going to nail down the lies?
I don't think this is finally the end. And I have said this off camera many times. There's something fishy here. You know, when we as reporters, and we all tend to have that sort of thing that in the back of your head that says, that doesn't sound right. This is one of those things when they ordered all these ignition switches prior to the recall, and then they said, oh, we had no idea. And then they're all in front of Congress saying, oh, no one told me anything about it till January. Makes me wonder who they're going to fry. And I'm feeling it's going to be Ray DiGiorgio. He's the one who is the designer on the ignition switches. They found tons of emails that said this person wasn't telling the truth and was well aware of the problem. My question is, and I hope not, because she's a very nice person, but I think that Mary Barra might find herself in a little bit of hot water, and the results may just be a fine for her. But it's entirely possible we're looking at some jail time for Ray DiGiorgio. There was over 117 deaths so far.
Now, we're looking at federal prosecutors looking at criminal wire fraud charges here. That's how deep this goes now. How is this going to affect GM? Will the consumer notice anything at all?
I don't think the consumer will notice anything. There are some people who will be impacted by this from the beginning, saying, you know what, I don't like GM, I won't buy GM. And there are people that are so loyal to the brand, they don't care. And my favorite part is when you say, well, I have a Buick. So people say this, I have a Buick, I don't have a GM product. I'm like, really? Because they don't put 2 and 2 together. Or I have a GMC, it's not a GM. Or I have a Cadillac. It's like they're all under the same window. There are 4 brands. And that's okay that people don't understand that, because I think no matter what, they're still going to sell cars. My concern is getting people in dealerships to get those ignition switches replaced. That's important.
Please. Now, again, just to that point, should people now still, if they bought a GM car anytime in the last 10 years, should they still be going back to their dealers? What's that A to Z there that they should be looking at?
Okay, first thing you need is your vehicle identification number. That's on your registration, it's on your insurance card, it's on your paperwork, it's also on the vehicle itself where the windshield meets the dash. If you can take that number down, call your local GM, whatever, even if you've got a Saturn, it's still GM. A Hummer is a GM. I mean, a Saab is a GM. If it has a GM ignition switch in it, you need to call the dealer, tell them what your vehicle identification number from the service department, they should get your vehicle in. And the federal government is backing this, that you can get a free loaner car if they don't have that ignition switch in stock. So make sure to put the pressure on the service rep, because there are a lot of people out there, and they tend to be younger kids that are driving these cars because they're 10 and 12 years old.
All right, let's talk about some other issues with cars now. All these storms that we've had in the U.S. in recent weeks, a lot of damage, a lot of deaths, a lot of cars are underwater as well. And I've seen this story before. We're going to see these cars somewhere trying to be sold to people as really good used cars, won't we?
Oh, yes. And actually, I was at the forefront of that when I saw those cars floating, as we lovingly call them in the business, floaters. I immediately said, oh my gosh, there are 650,000 cars, and now we've got another 10 or 12,000 more from all these floodings that are going on all over the country. They're getting out into the marketplace. Now, yes, the insurance company is supposed to destroy them if it's an insurance claim and you have coverage. If not, you as a person air out your car and sell it, or the salvage yard gets it and they say, oh, that Lexus has low mileage on it. What a beautiful car. We'll just clean it up, a little bit of perfume, and put it out and sell it. So you have to be careful. You need an ASE certified technician to check these vehicles out. I'll tell you why it's so bad to have a flood damaged car. The airbags don't work at all. Many of the safety features don't function because There's electrical shorts. Sometimes the car will just stop for no reason. So these are all serious safety features. So don't buy a flood damaged car, no matter what anybody says.
So let me do this. I only get 20 seconds left. A lot of these may have the titles washed on these. How do people protect themselves to know they're not getting a bad car?
Well, Carfax is one of the places, but they only have about 60% of the cars on the road. The one thing you can do is have an ASE certified technician put it up on a lift, look under the electrical box. If you see rust in odd places, there's lots of perfume, mismatched carpeting, mismatched interior, things that make you wonder, gee, this car is really, really low priced. There's a reason. And that reason is it's a flood damaged car. And we've caught them all over the country, all the way to Canada. They've gone to Europe. They're everywhere.
Keep watching out for these because the irreputable will be out there doing this. Don't forget laurenfix.com. Check it out all the time. That's where Lauren gives you the information. Lauren, always a pleasure to talk to you. See you real soon. Coming up next, let's get politically incoherent, if you will. It's so easy to do these days.